Merry Christmas. We have been preparing for a long time to hear of the birth of the Christ child. The journey officially began a month ago with our walk through Advent, but some choose to start the anticipation a little bit earlier, in June. Hobby Lobby is one of these that puts up the trees and ornaments quite early. There is much joy and anticipation around the birth of a child, particularly this child. What are some of the ways that you prepare yourself for this day? Did you have presents to buy? Special foods and treats to prepare? Decorations to be put up? For many, the manger scene, the creche, or 2 or 3, adorn their home for the holidays. There is joy in tenderly placing each character to the story in their honored place as you hear the words of the story echo in your memory. How do you place each person in their proper place? Do they get placed as they come right out of storage, willy-nilly, setting up the scene in its place of honor? Or do they get set up in a certain way? For some, the story unfolds over the month, with each member getting placed in its special spot over time. Our very own nativity scene outside Medora Lutheran here has been missing its baby Jesus until now. For the person who set it up in eager anticipation to the coming of Christ has waited to place the baby Jesus. Did you notice that he was missing? This Christmas Eve, we turn our attention to the shepherds, one of my favorites to place, as they come followed by their fuzzy little sheep. The shepherds who were drawn in at the promise of the baby born in the manger, a message foretold to them by angels. The Greek word here of this telling suggests that it was a loving tenderness that would have been shared between longtime friends, like the words of a grandmother to a grandchild. They are told of this child, and the shepherds go with haste. The shepherds are the first people to hear the good news. They are prominent in many sermons and illustrations of the manger scene. And this could be because they're associated with the lowly, the outcast and the marginalized, or because they give us hope. Or perhaps it's both. But whatever your reason for holding these shepherds dear to this story, as you place them at the nativity scene, it's important to hold on to them, for they play a key part in our story. But perhaps the character that gives us the most hope and joy is the Christ child, Jesus. He is the one that all of our presents, food, and decorations are about. People take joy in gently placing the baby in the manger. A colleague of mine tells the story of his mother's love of collecting these creches. As a young boy, he admired her nativity scenes from around the world and switched the baby Jesus from Guatemala and placed it with the Holy Family from the Zimbabwe scene and the Zimbabwean Jesus amongst the Norwegian scene. Soon you would look into the scenes and discover that all of the Jesuses had been switched, and none remained in their original setting. There are a handful of stories online about baby Jesuses that get stolen from their mangers. There's one that I heard of that got taken from the manger and placed around town in surprising places, night after night. They would go to bed, baby Jesus would be in his manger where he belonged, and they would wake up the next morning and Jesus would be down at the post office, the bar, in the park, or over at the police station. These two illustrations of the manger scene seem very appropriate to me. Jesus was an activist who went to the most unlikely people and the most unlikely places throughout his life. His being born amongst animals with shepherds, his first visitors, starts this surprising journey for Christ. So, for the baby Jesus to move and not be able to stay put in the manger scene makes a lot of sense to me. It should not be strange to think that Jesus would not want to stay put in this quiet place, but would be out and about in the world, active in it. The baby has come into the world, and now nothing will ever be the same. For he is not going to sit quietly as the world passes him by. He's going to be out amongst the people, starting with these lowly shepherds. He is coming to a world that would be deemed undeserving of his love. He is coming to make a difference in the world and a difference in you as well. Jesus comes to change hearts and to be with those who society deems less than. So as we gather with family and friends, we remember the infant Christ who comes to change everything by entering the world in strange and exciting ways. So may your Christmas this year be blessed by the baby Christ who doesn't stay in the manger, but enters the world for the sake of the world. Amen.